why don't you retail on Purnia's pop-up?
Right.
And we launched our first collection and it was actually sold out within 48 hours. We're also launching menswear this year.
Oh, that's
and
lovely.
kidswear.
Like, what is Riddhi Mehra as a brand, their dream team?
So Aditi Rao actually ended up wearing that for the Ambani wedding. While we are going traditional, we also maintain the modern aesthetics of the brand.
I want to know the 3 pieces that every modern Indian woman should have.
In terms like from our collections or like
In general.
In general, a white shirt. I love the way you've styled your look today. I absolutely love it. So like a white shirt can be styled in so many ways.
Yes.
A good pair of sneakers.
Okay.
Sneakers is definitely my go-to trend.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
a good
but
pair of jeans. I feel
Jeans,
like,
denims, okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not so much of a denim person. That's
Yeah.
why jeans don't come naturally to
Yeah,
me as
but
an
like
answer.
trousers, yeah.
But like a pair of good pair of trousers. Okay. And 3 pieces from your brand that you feel that if any woman has, or anybody, or not even just a woman, but anybody who wants to have 3 pieces of your collection,
Definitely would be a drape sari.
of course,
For
101%.
And I would say like these jacket styles that we do, we've done it with shararas, we've done it with skirts. That's a new silhouette we introduced last year. That is also one of my go-tos, and an anarkali, because that's like a classic.
Yeah, I love the white jacket with the skirt you wore. That is stunning. It's it's a really like an ethereal piece, but at the same time so modern, right? Like I feel like so I'm a blazer fanatic.
Okay,
like,
great.
At any point of time, and even today, like when it's hot.
Yeah.
You know, it's hot AF. I feel like I want to look good in a blazer.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's one of those things.
So, in fact, we have to step out for a wedding today. I mean, you also have to come. So, I got a blazer set and I tried that on and I was like, okay, let me just like wear this. But I was like, okay, it's a bit too hot for
it's
today.
It's going to be hot. Yeah, it's going to be hot. But at the same time, like, I feel like anything. And it's so strange because when then you need to wear something else, my cupboard is full of blazers. And I'm just like, you know, I know that you can throw a blazer on everything, but you really can't also. But it still remains to be one of my favorite staples. Who do you think wears your, you know, designs best? Like somebody, and I definitely want you to name drop here because we know that we have years of, you know, history of Riddhi Mehra being a brand since 2012. Somebody you've constantly seen, and it doesn't have to be one person, but a couple of people you can name who have constantly worn your brand and worn it to the T.
I think one person I would definitely say is Aditi Rao Haithri. She is so effortless, and I feel whatever she wears just comes out so effortlessly on her. I feel like she opts for things that just looks beautiful. It doesn't matter who it's from, where it's from. She'll just make such simple things look good. And so definitely one would be her. I
have some while you're thinking. I'll tell my answer.
think me.
Yeah, you look great in your designs, of course.
I would say like, I mean, that's what everyone says, that you should wear your own clothes.
No, and
like,
you do, and you look great in them.
Every designer, not just me, but every designer looks the best in their own clothes. Because
it's a reflection of them. Yeah, of course. So, okay, we've got you. We've got Aditi Rao Haithri. Who else?
Who do you have in mind?
Shilpa Shetty.
Oh, yes, of course.
I mean, Shilpa Shetty has the body that was made for a sari. Like, you know, I mean, she can wear a sari maybe 1,000 ways and look impeccable, right? Like, she just is. So that's the one person.
And she's worn so many of our styles over a period, and like, she looks as good even today. She looks amazing.
I think she's just been like, you know, that Benjamin Button situation is happening with Shilpa Shetty. Okay, lovely. How do you personally, this is a very tricky question even in my books because I feel like it's a very open question, but I want you to be able to tailor it as much as you can. How do you personally define good taste in fashion today?
I feel it's a very personal thing.
I know.
You must look good, present well. I mean, that's what matters by the end of it, because fashion today is so varied.
Right.
Like, you know, Gen Z fashion differs so much to millennial fashion.
Oh my God, it's
like
night and day.
Totally different. Like,
night and day.
In fact, sometimes like I'm so attracted towards Gen Z fashion, but I just don't think I can do it.
Can't do it. I mean, I'm sure you can. Like, I know what you mean because I totally feel what you're saying.
But having said that, I'm really happy to incorporate that in our collections.
Of course.
So
it just broadens your reach, of course.
And I'm so glad I'm able to do, at least like even if I'm not able to wear it myself, I'm able to put that in our creations.
Which is so important also.
It's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun to incorporate that.
Yeah.
So I feel like fashion, what looks good, whose fashion sense is good, it completely depends on how you're looking, how you're presenting.
Let me turn this question around, okay? Because I know this is getting a little, and I hear you why, because when I wrote this question down, even I was like, okay, this is gonna... So the question was, how do you personally define good taste in fashion today? Let's flip it. I want to say, what are the few things that you look at and be like, ugh, that's gross, or that is a turn off? There has to be some. Riddhi, there has to be some. No, just be out with it now already. And I know you will have some because you have impeccable style.
One thing, like it's great, like people are enhancing their beauty with products that are available today, with the services that are available today, and I feel it's great. It's good till the point you're looking good.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Beyond that, like sometimes people just overdo. Like if you go to Dubai, people are just... I mean, you'll see women walking around with fake butts, fake everything.
Lips,
like,
eyebrows.
But again, it's a personal perception.
Of course.
Like some people may find that good. And I feel if it's available, why not? I mean, do it. But do it to the extent that it looks natural and pretty.
Yeah. And then, of course, and then that becomes personal, right?
Yeah.
Because to them, obviously, it is absolutely normal, and it is what gives them that confidence to walk around.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So that is something that turns you off. Anything else? Anything else in styling?
Honestly, that doesn't even like turn me off. I honestly, I don't really judge people on the basis of that. Like, it's just something that I would not want to do.
Any styling element? Let's move away from that, because I feel like that may be... I meant like styling element. Like, do you feel like there's something...
Styling element...
Like, I'll tell you mine. For example, like, I don't like it when somebody is trying to pull a look, but the clothes aren't ironed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it just looks like very clumsy, flip-floppy. Like, I don't like a klutz.
Totally agree with that.
So something like that do you have a pet peeve like that?
Honestly, no. This like so many times this question has come up in interviews and I've never been able to pinpoint. And one day I was just sitting, I was like, what will I really say in this situation? But no,
you can't think of anything. Okay. I want to know, like, if you were to sort of design a Met Gala look.
Okay.
Who would it be for, and what would it be?
See, for me, I always prefer going for Indian actors.
Okay.
And I think for me, if I have to style, it'll be hands down Alia Bhatt. Like, she's like one of my favorites.
Okay, amazing.
Favorite muses. I feel what she's doing is beautiful. Every look of hers is so well conceptualized, so well put together, so well executed.
Yeah.
And so well carried.
Yeah, absolutely.
So definitely would be her. And what would I like to do is a very big question mark. I'll have to do a lot of research on this and get back.
But I mean, like, would it be...
But I also really loved what Janhvi Kapoor did at Cannes. She wore this Tarun Tahliani gown, which was crushed tissue and like just very well put together. So minimal, but
it was
yet
very ethereal.
So effective.
It was very effective. I agree. I know that, I don't know why there were conversations where people were not liking that look, but
honestly, there are always haters.
I mean, of course, but I meant like, sometimes it's a very obvious thing, and I felt like it was obviously nice. Like it wasn't...
it looked really nice.
Yeah, I think it was really pretty. And I mean, there's nobody who does that kind of drape better than Tarun. I feel like, the way he knows the body of a woman in terms of the draping and everything, it's just
honestly,
fantastic.
I feel he does everything very
He does very, very beautiful work. Okay, so moving on, I want to know, like, if your brand was, this is a very silly question, but I just wanted to get it out there. If your brand was a cocktail, what would it be called?
Honestly, I'll just call it Mimosa, because that's like
Mimosa? Okay,
one
cute.
of my favorites.
Okay,
so
it's your favorite
since,
drink.
Like, the brand is a reflection of me, then I think I'll just go for a cocktail I like.
Yeah. It would be an elderflower spritz for me.
Oh, yeah. I could do that too. I like that too.
I like elderflower too.
I also like picante, but I didn't want to say picante for my
No, but your clothing and your brand has to reflect that. So I feel like your clothes are more, again, like I just think like romantic is that one word I cannot let go of.
So I would go for more floral cocktails.
Yeah, I would definitely do like elderflower. So Riddhi, what is this one trend that is, you know, that you really wish truly never existed, but you see it everywhere?
I feel one trend that's coming back is low-waisted jeans and like low-waisted trousers and low-waisted things. And I mean, it's just that I can't carry it off.
Oh my God, same.
That's why the reason. I just hope it doesn't come back in fashion. I remember when high-waisted came back to fashion, I was like, yay, this is great.
This is great.
A, it makes you look taller and it's comfortable and it's just great.
And so many ways you can wear it. But you know, the good thing about today's time is that even though low-waisted anything may come back, but the good thing is there are no more rules.
Oh, of course.
You know, so you no longer have to...
there are no rules.
Yeah, and then you don't longer have to feel that.
There was a point in time, like, if something was in trend, like, that was fashion. Yeah. But now it's everything. So that's
I agree. Yeah. But I think, like, people today who I feel, and I can say this safely even from on your behalf, is that people who we truly look up to were never those who followed that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They never needed that one pair of jeans to make sure they fit in. Those are not the people we really want to look up to, right? Because their personal styling is something that we all sort of adhere to, right? So that is great. If it wasn't for fashion, if it wasn't that you were in the fashion world, what world would you be a part of?
I think I would be a baker.
You'd be a baker? Oh, that's so cool. Do you bake?
No.
Oh.
Not at all. I don't cook, I don't bake, I don't do anything.
But you want to enter.
But I'm always so attracted towards it, and I feel like if I would get into it, I would be...
You would be good at it. Okay, fair enough. All right, cool. So I want to get into some of the questions that I feel, you know, we've sort of done this research on what people like to know, and that is now what we're getting into. Do you think that Indian brides are now overdressing for attention rather than tradition?
Not really. No. I feel everyone does whatever they do for their own self. I don't really know like how many of them would really do it with an intent of getting attention. I feel it's just what you like.
It's what you like. So you don't feel that they're like overdressing for, let me do it this way because it's
I feel someone would overdress for their own self, right? Like
because it's their big day.
It's their big day, and someone would not dress up so much because they don't like it. Like, I just feel whatever you do is for your own self. It may have an effect on people, but like, you do it for yourself.
You do it for yourself. Okay. Is the couture look, like these days, you know, everything is very couture-y, if I may, you know, use that word. And do you think that couture look is like on Instagram is killing real world fashion? You know, like, because there's so much out there in terms of like maximalism, which is making a comeback.
Honestly, somewhere I feel it is. I wouldn't say it's killing it, but I just feel like there's so much content, so much data available because like the world has become really small, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like it has such a big influence on everyone. Like it has on me as well, you know? So I'm constantly on Instagram looking at trends, looking at things, looking at garments. And like every time you see a couture outfit, it only wants you to go a notch higher.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so I feel it does have an effect on real fashion, for sure.
Yeah.
Because if you see something and if you go out to the market to buy something, you don't get the same thing, right? So then...
Yeah. Okay. Do you think maybe somewhere Indian fashion is also becoming too safe under the umbrella of being classic? You know, like a classic lehenga, a classic sari.
For sure.
So it's all becoming too safe. So we need to explore.
Yeah, that's the reason we're coming up with the next collection.
Oh,
hopefully we'll be able to match up to the hype of it, at least in my mind.
But I think what I'm most excited about is the fact that you're launching menswear.
Yeah.
You're launching children's wear. That's like two whole new worlds that you're, you know, sort of bringing in together.
So we did design a collection last year as well for kids wear, but we didn't launch it because we were not able to produce it.
Oh.
So I'm hoping that this year we're able to.
Production is really something that is quite a challenge, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, with 5 drops a year, so many new styles, and then not even talking about customer orders yet. I'm just talking about your own work. It's insane. So, but you're going to make it happen this year.
Trying to.
Is it going to be called the same thing? Like, is it all going to be under the same label, or are you naming it?
We're yet to figure that.
Oh, yet to figure it out. Okay. I would, if I may say, that you should definitely name it separately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel
that's the thought behind it, but let's see.
Yeah. No, I'm sure it'll work out really well. Should every designer be a stylist in today's content-heavy fashion world?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're designing something, you need to know how to style it. I mean, you will always have a vision in mind while you're designing.
Right, but I meant, like, going back to a conversation where you'd hire a stylist to bring out things that even as a creator, you didn't see it happening.
Yeah.
Like that. So do you think
you'll always be a stylist while being a designer, but having an additional person in is also great.
It's also great. Okay. Do you think we're in an era where good styling matters more than good tailoring?
Absolutely.
Than good tailoring?
I feel tailoring is equally important.
Yeah. So you think that it's not like that?
The two different things. Like style, you can make a top out of a scarf in today's date.
Right.
So that's good styling.
Sure.
But good tailoring is equally important. I mean, considering that I do this on a daily basis, I cannot bear bad tailoring.
Right.
I just cannot. I just don't enjoy it.
You enjoy it. Yeah, of course.
Like your
Nobody
fittings
wants
are not good.
Yeah.
Things are not right. Like there are times we do trials for new masters and they're not able to give the right fits. I mean, it's low-key irritating.
It's excruciating to watch that go to waste. So, yeah. How would you respond to a client that insists on combining, 1 or 2 trends that are not going to work, but they insist on it?
Okay, that's really tricky. It's quite challenging, honestly, to be combining things that's not going to work. Because, when you're designing a garment, it's with certain aesthetics, right? Like, you don't want to overdo a situation, but there are times when people ask for it. And the challenge is because they're perceiving something which is completely different in their mind. So I guess it's just about managing the situation, explaining to them. Sometimes you got to do it also.
Yeah.
So it completely depends.
Any funny customer stories or client stories that you'd like to share?
I've not really had any recently because my customer interaction has kind of gone down over the last few years.
But previously, or even in the beginning, years.
I remember once my store manager kind of offered customization to a client, and she came in and she's like, okay, I want to put this color, this embroidery, this style, this thing together. And I'm just looking at her, I'm like, what are you imagining this piece to be? Please don't do this.
Yeah.
But they insisted and it turned out to be a disaster, and they're like, what the hell have you made?
Oh my God.
Blah, blah, blah. You don't know how to create clothes and stuff. Like it's a bit tricky, so we don't really insist on too much customization.
Yeah, because then of course, it's because it's your vision getting totally trampled on, and then you don't know, and they don't know what it's going to look like.
Yeah, and with customization, sometimes pieces turn out to be pretty hideous.
Has it ever become the other way around, where somebody's over customized and it's come out lovely?
It does.
Yeah?
It does.
That's a good story.
So that also works really well, and sometimes my team is only suggesting things and it actually works out to be really beautiful. We've changed styles, and something that works out well, then we kind of store it. We keep an archive of that.
We keep an archive on it. Okay, great. I want to know that how would you use styling a mass-produced silhouette to make it look exclusive? Like, what would you, how would you change that? Like, what would you change in it?
For example?
Like, for example, let's say you're using, let's say a silhouette like your sari. And how do you style that to make it look more exclusive than a regular sari?
See, now that is a challenge. Because, You're talking about styling, right? Like not creating.
Not creating.
Styling, I feel like you can accessorize it. The way you drape it makes a big difference, you know. So most of the times people are not that great at draping saris versus getting a professional draper doing the sari.
Right.
I feel that makes a very big impact. Like one of the things you mentioned was ironing, right? Like if it's not ironed well, if it's not draped well, I feel that is
you feel that's
something.
your and then because you're the creator of this draped sari that does so well, then
I feel draping it in a different way, using accessories like belts, brooches, also the way you're styling it with your jewelry really can make a...
Has anybody styled any of your pieces so differently that you were just blown away? Has anybody done that?
Sometimes, yes, of course.
Have you do you remember anybody, like any, maybe it could be a celebrity
I don't really remember as such, but I remember like moments where I'm like, oh wow, this is nice, it's different.
It's nicely done. Okay.
I think once Sumaya styled one of the saris, Sumaya from House of Misu, she styled one of the saris differently. She took the drape differently. It was pretty cool.
It looked nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. How would you approach, a collection that is not doing well? We know your stuff does well, of course.
So, no, of course, there are times where collections don't do well because not everything is a bestseller.
Not everything works, right.
I guess you just have to work out like different markets for it and look at what your target audience is, kind of curb production on that.
Yeah.
So that you're not overproducing and... sometimes it comes down to offers as well.
But like, there's no way to reinvent it at that point. Like once it's out there, you can't really do anything about it.
I mean, you can, and honestly, that's a great idea, Priyanka.
Yeah.
I think I can look at doing that. But I mean, as a business strategy, we anyways don't overproduce. We always produce lesser than the demand because I feel it's always great to have more demand than supply.
No, of course. And then, dead stock is a real thing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we talked about sustainability. So that's also... I want to know, for all the viewers who are new to the business, who are starting out, there are, a lot of people, lose their way because of challenges, etc. I want to know from you that in your initial years, we obviously went through that whole internship phase where you felt like that was a really big learning. What are the 3 things you feel you got right and that you think helped you?
The first and foremost thing I would say would be support from my mom, my aunt, my dad. My aunt has been a very big support in the business.
Okay.
And she's someone who I always look up to. So she's my Masi, basically.
Right.
And that I feel everyone needs in this business. So mostly if you look at successful designers, you'll always see their family into the same business.
Okay.
Majority,
right.
And I feel that really helps you grow because, there's so much that's a part of this. Like, you're designing, you're manufacturing, you're looking into accounts, you're looking into sourcing, production. Like, there's too much that's happening. So it's humanly not possible to do everything. So that's one thing I would say is very important. Second, I would say is clarity of what you want to achieve, what you want to do, and thirdly would be differentiating your product to what is already available in the market. If you're creating the same that is already there, I mean, okay, it'll always sell. I mean, there's a market for everything, but creating an identity for yourself is very important.
Okay. So these are the first 3 things that you feel like you got them right in your initial years.
Yeah.
Which you feel like the other kids should, definitely look at. When did you, sort of launch your first store? We know that you launched your label in 2012. How long did it take you to?
Store in Mehrauli in, I think, 2018 or something.
So it took you 6 years.
Yeah. And so that store of ours is with The Right Side, and it's by a friend, Harshita. And she was the one who actually pushed me into this. And I was like, I'm not sure. And then she's like, no, let's try it. And then she figured the whole thing. So
The Right Sided is the same brand that you did a collab with for the bags and the potlies and stuff, and they were really stunning.
Yeah,
that in itself also started a new trend.
Absolutely.
The Navratna jewels on the polki and etc. things that we hadn't seen before. That little one bag, and so that was great. I really didn't know back then I didn't know it was Harshita's label. I always thought it was an extension of yours.
Yeah.
But
because the aesthetics are very similar.
Very similar.
That's how we kind of bonded also. And I mean, we were doing our belts, our jewel belts, and she was doing her jewel bags and.
Yeah.
So
no, it works
worked,
really well with your outfits and stuff. But tell me, if you wake up tomorrow and you have the opportunity to really collab with any fashion label, any fashion house, no strings attached, which one would it be?
Honestly, I would love to collaborate with another clothing brand. Like that would be interesting.
Yeah, like do you have someone in mind? Like someone you can think right off the bat? Like
a lot, but that's something I'll just keep to me for now.
Oh, really? Okay, so you mean that there's a possibility of that happening then?
Oh, that's just an idea I have.
Okay, cool. How did you, sort of come to the decision that it's the right time to launch the store? It's an important perspective.
So it wasn't, I mean, as I said, like she kind of just convinced me to get into it. And also it was like, we were 6 years into the industry and it was time to do something. It was time we set our foot in retail.
But I mean, was the mathing? You know?
Of course,
I mean, that's
totally.
The real...
Yeah. Honestly, it was quite a no-brainer. So
okay.
So
you need that. Like, I mean, I'm going back to people who are going to watch this to learn from this. But when do you decide, or when do you know that, listen, now is the time that we're making this much or doing this much that we can launch our store? Do we have some kind of a...
I don't think there are any benchmarks as such, but I just feel like that's a bit of a business decision. So before you're starting before you're setting a step in retail, what you kind of need to know is whether you have the capacity to supply, whether your numbers, your expenses and your sales can support the expenses that would be involved in that thing. For example, you're setting a retail store. You have your rents, you have your staffing salaries, you have your overheads, you will have marketing, you'll have couriers, you will have a lot of other expenses involved in a store. So are your sales going to be able to cover that? And on top of that, would you be able to make a certain margin? That is very important to assess. And I feel that is something that you can judge by probably doing a few events, testing out the markets in similar markets.
Right.
And you'll get a fair idea.
I mean, where do you put marketing into this? Like, how much percentage, let's say, of your total, being would you put into marketing for your brand?
Honestly, I would say like 30% easy, or maybe a little more.
A little bit more, like 30-40% you would allocate to your marketing budget.
I wouldn't say that would be the budget. That would be the effort. Budget-wise, I don't know. I'll have to look at the numbers.
But you have somebody who looks at your numbers. This is not something that you like to do. Is there something? This is something that, because I know people who love looking at numbers as well. Are you one of those?
Of course, I do keep a tab on numbers, but my tab is more on like sales numbers, not marketing.
Not marketing. Okay.
I keep a control over marketing, but yeah, I get, it keeps changing. Like, it's a bit complicated, not able to explain.
Yeah. Okay. But what I'm trying to say is that, do you have at least a breakup in your mind that you feel like...
No, we do, of course, have a breakup. It's just that I don't have it on my fingertips as of now.
Right.
But there is a certain part that goes into marketing, a certain amount into... Of course, all of that is planned. But it's not humanly possible to be doing that for smaller brands. So that's not something that I really suggest. Because like if you're creating, you're designing, you're manufacturing, you're looking into accounts, sourcing, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You cannot be sitting down and doing the segregation of...
Yeah, you will need an extra set of hands for sure. Yes, no, I completely agree with that. What is the one creative risk you took early on that changed the trajectory of your brand?
Investing into marketing, I would say.
Investing into marketing.
Yeah.
Because I know you really wanted to do that, right? You said earlier that marketing is something you look at.
Marketing was very natural. Like Instagram at that time was investment into Instagram, but like it was just putting out what we were doing. So that kind of helped us reach out to more people at the right time. Yeah. We were one of the first movers into Instagram at that point of time. I remember not so many designers were online. We were one of the first few designers to be online, to be presenting our collections online, and that really helped us.
So that is the risk that kind of paid off early on. You've built a strong celebrity following, right? Because we have a lot of celebrities that we see dressed in Riddhi Mehra all the time. How do you view the power of celebrity endorsements in today's landscape? Like,
it's always been strong. It's strong today, and I think
it will remain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do influencers fit in this?
I feel influencer marketing is kind of changing. I mean, we'd always heard that there will be a point where it will go down.
Yeah.
I feel it's still there, but again, like Instagram algorithms have really, I mean, it's something that we don't really understand. Like some influencers are doing really well.
Yeah.
Whereas some are struggling with the engagement. So Priyanka, I wanted to know, how did you come up with this podcast? What were your thoughts?
You know, honestly, like I have always, I went to FIT. I've always been inspired by creativity around me. And I just felt that it was time to really talk to the creators. And I think past 2, 3, 4 years, even 5 years, we've been seeing influencers grow and, you know, talking about product, selling, converting. But I am still interested in the story behind that.
Yeah.
I feel like...
No, honestly, and this is the perfect time to do that because like podcasts are gaining so much...
I do feel that you're right, but I do feel that again. I feel like maybe I'm still behind that still, right? Because so many people have already done it.
Yeah.
But because this is so passion driven, like I feel like I can talk like this in my sleep.
That's great.
I really don't need to, like, you know, I can sit and have a conversation. We can talk about hours about things that are, you know, to do with fashion or styling.
So this podcast is about fashion or anything else as well?
No, it's actually, so it's fashion, art and culture.
Okay, lovely.
But fashion first because I feel like that's where I've derived.
Fashion is always first.
You know, that is,
it's always first.
Yeah, but art, I feel like is everywhere also. Because now clothing is art, you know, embroidery is art, everything that, and especially I think that to be a part of the fashion industry in India right now, there is no time like today.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Like I think that I've just come back from a recent trip. I was abroad and honestly, I just kept thinking about how great our fashion is.
Yeah,
it's insane. Like the shopping has gone down.
India is doing great in terms of fashion and food.
Like
there was a time when we would step out and be like, wow, what amazing food, or like, wow, what amazing clothes. But now it's not like you don't crave it. You're like, okay, this is good, but I think we're as good.
Yeah. And I think this is the first time that I felt that way was like about 3 years ago. I remember I was in the States and I saw, you know, a pair of trousers and whatnot. And I tried them and I'm like, you know what? In Delhi,
you can get them.
I can like get them customized, home delivered for maybe half the price.
Yeah.
And I'm anyways not the kind of person who's cared for too much labels. Like I don't care if it is a branded product or not. I care of how it sits on me, right?
Yeah.
So I just felt like I kept thinking about India. And how Indian fashion designers, what they do. Also, I've always been super value driven. So I feel like we belong to a country where we get so much for our money.
Absolutely.
In terms of, you know, what we spend out of India and with other brands. So, but to start, the Style Circle was really all about styling because I think styling is something that is so integral in the creative world.
Yeah.
Whether it's how you hang a painting, how you put flowers together. Today there's like styling in everything.
Everything. So, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I've known you like literally since school. We've been to the same school and then we reconnected when you were with Exclusively.
Yes.
I remember. And then of course after that we've kind of like
done so many
seen each
things.
other, met each other. How's your journey been through your career?
I mean, my career graph is actually really, really long now that I think about it, you know, since college. I had been working since the first semester of FIT, to be honest. Like I was a sales associate at a store.
Okay.
Then moving on to working with Payal. I was her store manager in New York.
Oh, lovely.
And that was really more than being a store manager because it was literally running the entire show with Payal on my side, and which was very, very, it was very hands-on.
I'm sure.
And I think that is when I really learned a lot of things. And then I moved on to working for Saks Fifth Avenue. I worked with Urban Outfitters, moved back to India, worked with Exclusively.in. And, you know, honestly, with Exclusively.in also, it was such a great working experience But the fact was that they had a really good concept. They had a very cool concept. The concept was same as the Gilt Group. I don't know if you've heard of it, but in New York, Gilt Group was that, you know, they only did flash sales.
Yeah.
That whole flash sale model. And I till today think that it is a really great model.
It is. It is.
You know, now Warehouse is doing it.
I was just going
right?
to say.
Warehouse is
doing it so well.
Mudita is doing it so well.
Yeah.
But I feel like if she does another very time-sensitive one, it can be one of those viral things.
But I think all her events are time-sensitive, no?
But I meant like, you know, like at exclusively.in, it was like, this sale is on for 24 hours online.
Yeah.
And you don't have to stand in any line.
Yeah.
You don't have to try on anything because the products are such.
Yeah.
They're
it was
so
a
safe.
great concept.
So that concept, and I feel like it's not going anywhere.
I think it was a bit too early in time.
I don't know about that. I feel like exclusively when they launched it for
really
the NRIs. They didn't launch it for the local Indians.
Okay.
So they did very well, and that's what I'm saying.
They were doing very well.
Yeah, and I think that concept till today, I think may be valid because I feel like people still are looking for a deal, always looking to grab something at a great price for good value. But then I think they switched models. Which, in my opinion, was their mistake, I feel. Like, you know, because they did so well, then suddenly they were like, why should we ever run out? We should always have it going. And then suddenly, so, you know, suddenly they were like, they went from, we're running out of stuff to, we'll always have it. Now you can come and shop and, you know, be a multi-designer website.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that changed it.
Correct.
Yeah. So, Riddhi, I want to talk to you about your styling hacks. This is something that's a really fun conversation. I know I do a lot of things on my end to sort of mix and match and make something more interesting. What do you do? How do you do it? I want at least 3-4 tips.
As you said, like mix and match, I keep trying different combinations and see what works. So that is, I guess, something that everyone kind of does. I think one thing that I always try and do is keep my sets ready before time. You know, so that whenever I have to step out, you don't really have to invest a lot of time into putting things together. But that's not most of the times. Most of the times I waste a lot of time just putting things together. I think just having your hair done, blow dried, just makes it much easier to kind of step out because that just fastens your process so much. A few other styling tips I would say, so just good hair, keep your sets ready. And what a lot of people do is actually have their bags and shoes clicked on their phone. I don't do it, but like,
that's definitely one step extra, bro. Like, that's not happening. I don't think I can do that.
My pictures would only be lost.
No, the amount of pictures today that you have on your phone, that's not possible.
Yeah.
No. But like, tell me, we spoke about like a white shirt, which is such a staple. Tell me, how would you style a white shirt Riddhi Mehra way, like 3 ways? You personally.
So I think one would definitely be like how you've styled it. I feel it's great. Like I think I'll pick that styling from you.
Thank you.
How else would I style a white shirt? So I styled a white shirt with a cape, like an organza cape for one of my shows. We came up with this fuchsia pink pant set with an organza cape, and I didn't really have an inner, you know, whatever I was trying with it. Didn't really work well, so I styled it with a white shirt, and it just worked out so well.
Popped, I'm sure, right? Because fuchsia and white is okay.
Also, another great way of styling your shirts is with your couture lehengas. I mean, that always looks nice.
Riddhi, this has been such a pleasure. I have seen most of your previous interviews, and I feel like this is the first time we've really got down to pick your brain.
And I think it was amazing. I really enjoyed myself.
I'm glad you did, and I hope you, I hope your brand grows from, like you mentioned, from women's wear, men's wear to kids wear. I want to say get to home and bearings, etc. as well. I hope that for your brand. And I really enjoyed our conversation, and I hope that you did too.
I totally did. I really enjoyed. Thank you so much for having me here. I think it was amazing just talking my heart out.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much.